Hey everybody, Sean from Legacy Event Group here. We are doing another vendor spotlights, and we just had one, and we have a decoration specialist. I'm going to try to not use the word decor because that is an industry word, but we have Stephanie from Unlimited Events joining us today, and she's going to tell us a little bit more about Unlimited Events and about what you offer. We were just talking off camera, and I think we had a lot of good conversation about things that I didn't even know. And we've been working with you for years and years and years. And it was a lot about the experience. So we're going to get into more of that later, of the experience that Unlimited Events offers. First, I would like to know a little bit about the company. And not just about the company, but also about you. I think sometimes we have when we look at a company a website or a Facebook profile or something like that, it's a blank slate. So tell me a little bit about the company, but also tell me a little bit about Stephanie.
Well, the company was started in 1989 by my partner, Scott Levine. He was a musician in town, and every place he went, when he would perform, people would be like, hey, can you get me this? Can you get me this entertainer? Can you get me that entertainer? And he thought, here's a way to make money and do something I love. So he wanted to start the business, and I was in college in 1989, and I did his marketing brochure for him. So he primarily started out booking entertainment, but he always wanted to be a full-service event planning company. And so I graduated from college, and I, of course, went on to do what I went to school for. But I was also the director of sales for a hotel. I worked in fashion and makeup. Pretty much everything I did led me to doing this. And a few years later, I had the opportunity, and Scott's like, hey, work with me. We can do this. We can make it happen. So we started manufacturing our own decor. He had made a lot of good contacts. I had some contacts. And so we got out there and we started introducing ourselves to the people in the industry. And it just started snowballing from there. So I worked for him for about a year and a half. And after that, he made me his partner because the business just really started growing. And we've been together ever since. So we specialize now in designing and manufacturing custom decor. And one of the great things about us that really nobody else does quite the way we do is we create an experience for the couples that we work with. We find out what they want. One of the main things I say when I'm talking with a couple and their families typically is, give me 10 pictures of what you consider to be the look that represents your style, your taste, and then give me an idea where you want to be in your budget. I don't want to see an entire Pinterest page. There's way too much on there. What I really want to see, the reason I say 10 pics, and I can be flexible, you can give me 12 or 15, but what I really want to see is what they really like. And what I like to do, and what our company does overall, is we stylize something to fit that couple. Now, if they come to me and say, Stephanie, I saw this picture in your lookbook and I want that exactly, I'm going to say, okay, here's who it belonged to. Do you know them? Because if you do, I don't want to give you that same event. I want you to have something that's specific to you. But if they don't and that's what they want, I'll make it happen.
So, a lot to unpack there, because a lot of the words that you're using, like I said, we've worked with you countless numbers of times, and I've seen the end result. I've seen the transformation of locations that I never thought could be as, not just as beautiful, but as detailed, because I really think there's a lot in the details and the little nuances and stuff that you guys do.
You are right, yeah.
But you said words like manufacturing decor. And that is completely foreign to me, because I just thought you went down to Hobby Lobby and bought it. So how do you, when you say manufacture decor, how do you manufacture decor and specialize it to the vision of a client?
Well, one thing I will say is I have a large warehouse full of existing decor that we have built, some of which we have purchased. I do a lot of South Asian weddings. Some of that decor is very specific to the culture, and so I have imported some of that from India, but for the most part we can make what people want, and that means woodworking, that might mean sewing pieces together to create a beautiful custom ceiling swag. To go a little bit further, when I go in and swag a ceiling at a venue, and let's just use the Dayton Art Institute as an example, I have custom-made pieces designed to fit that venue and that venue only. I work with another venue down in Westchester, the Savannah Center. They have an atrium, and I have custom-made and designed a ceiling swag that only fits that venue. So we work with a couple, find out where they're going to be, see what they want, and we can then pair them with the things that are going to work best at their venue. Not everything fits in every venue. I do some beautiful backdrops. Some of them can be 8 feet tall, but some of them need to be 14 feet tall. So I need to know the venue that they're going to be having their event at in order to guide them in the best direction. And it's kind of like, it's more of an experience than walking into a rental company and saying, I want that piece. That's not what we do. You can't come to my warehouse and pick up a piece of my decor because it needs to be put together. One of the great things about us is we bring it in, we set it up, we tear it down. We create a focal point. We don't just, I'm not going to give you a column and send you away with it, because that's not what we do. Think of us as interior decorators for your event. Often, and I'm going to go back to the pictures again, I'll have young ladies and couples send me pictures of what they like. And so I'll sit down with them and we will look at the components of everything they like. And if they want something specific, I can recreate that most of the time. But if they're willing to let me help them tailor something to their specific style and taste, we'll pull components of the pictures that they like, and I'll literally sketch it out and give them a little bit of an idea, just a quick hand-drawn sketch of what we're going to use and the pieces we're going to use from each look. And then that way, that becomes a signature for them. Because what I want to create is when someone walks into the room, I want the ooh-ah effect. I want people to see that focal point, and that's going to set the tone for their whole event. I have some people that the only thing they can do is one backdrop. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the most important focal point, because when people walk in that room, they're going to see that, and it's going to set the tone. And I've done this in barns. I mean, I've done this in garages. I've done this in gorgeous, beautiful places as well. But at the end of the day, if we give someone a great visual to look at that represents what the customer and the couple want to see, that's what they're going to remember. Plus, I will just point blank tell you, I go hand in hand with the photographers. I'm not rich, so I look at things and say, how do I get the best value for my money out of whatever I do in my life? And I look at it that way for my customers as well, because I want them to have the best value and the best takeaway when they leave my office, when they look back at their pictures in 10 years. And that's what it's going to be. They're going to look at their videos, they're going to look at their pictures. And so I like to put decor where the couple's going to be photographed. So if that's, if they're having a head table or a sweetheart table, I want something back there, because even if it's not in focus, it's going to show. I also like to get them at the entry, because the look on their faces as they walk in that entry door, it's priceless, and it creates a beautiful picture. The favorite picture from my wedding, and I didn't even have the kind of stuff, because I wasn't in this business when I got married. The favorite picture from my wedding is my husband and I walking in the door and looking at how beautiful our room looked. And I'm telling you what, there are days I look at my pictures and think I should Photoshop my decor into it, because my decor is gorgeous and it would have just made it fabulous. But it gives me a lot of pleasure to bring that kind of joy and happiness to people, and to know that what I did lives on in their life for decades to come.
So you had talked a little bit about the client coming in, maybe showing you a couple Pinterest pictures and things like that, and stylizing things and pulling styles from the things that they have shown you. I have no style at all. I'm gonna go ahead and say that. But if you don't see us at events very often, but I usually wear the same black or blue shirt and the same black suit and things like that. So if I were to choose you, I probably would be style inept when it comes to what I really want. And I might even go like, well, can you do my centerpieces? Can you do this? Can you do that? Where do you draw the line from being an interior designer? And I'm thinking about this kind of in the realm of a house. Where do you go from the interior designer to construction worker? Because I may ask you to do everything. I may ask you to help, design things that you're like, well, we don't usually, Tell me about how you would walk through a client's vision, working with so many different options that you have, and really coming down to this is what we do and this is what we can offer.
Well, after 25 years of doing this, I've gotten pretty good at understanding what people want. There are certain things they will say. I'll just use this as an example. I had a young lady tell me she wanted an Art Deco themed wedding. I said, send me a picture of what Art Deco means to you. Okay. I know what Art Deco is and what it means to me, but it could mean something completely different to someone else. So the pictures that she sent to me would not have been what I would have necessarily picked as that. But that's what it represented to her. So once I can keep extracting information. I ask a lot of questions. I ask very specific questions like, what are your favorite colors? What would you consider your style? Show me what represents that word you just used. And I'll sit in the meeting sometimes and just pull up pictures and we'll go through them. I have a lot of pictures on my Facebook page and on my Pinterest page and on my website. So we can scan through my pictures and look at that. And if I'm not getting it from that, then we'll go out onto the web and find pictures that represent what they want. So once I have a good feeling of what they want, then I can direct them in that direction, because it's just extracting that information, because often people do know what they want. They just may not know how to put it into words. And you say you don't have a style, but your style might be understated elegance. A nice black shirt is understatedly elegant. It's tasteful, doesn't stand out, too much, because that's not what you're there for. So that is the style that you're going for. When I personally like sparkly things. That's me personally. But I do a lot of very beautiful understated weddings. Where not one single thing sparkles, because I listen to the people that I'm working with and I hear what they say. And I keep showing them examples until I get a good understanding. And then I literally do okay, if I hear what you're saying, this is what I'm getting from you. Because ultimately my goal is to give someone the experience that they want. And yes, I'm doing that with decorations. I'm doing that with lighting. And to circle back to what you said about the big picture, if I can, I like to help be in control of all of that, because I want that cohesive look. I want this person who is creating this style, this look, this design, I want them to have something that fits together perfectly and meshes. I don't want to not know what color they're putting on their tables. I don't want to not know that they have this other component being brought in, because maybe what I'm suggesting then wouldn't work with it. So I want to know every little piece. If they haven't done anything ahead of time, I'll be very happy to help them figure all of that out, because this is what I do. That's why they would come to someone like me, or to someone like Natasha or Scott or Morgan or any of the people who've worked with me over the years, because this is our entire way we do business. It's our signature. I will never send someone out with something that isn't going to be beautiful. I get asked by young ladies a lot, oh, well, what is a 2-point ceiling swag? What would that cost? Well, I'm never going to do that, because it's not going to look good. And I am not going to take someone's money to do something that isn't going to look good. I'm going to show them what things are going to look like, and I'm going to let them know what's going to work best in their venue. I'm going to help educate them on how they can get the most for their money out of everything that they're going to do that affects the look of their event, because I want it to all work synergistically together. You know me. We've worked together over the years. I want every vendor that comes into the picture to shine. It's not just about me, it's not just about you, it's about the couple. And if we all work together as a great team, it's all going to synergistically blend, and we're going to create a fabulous event for people who we want to tell their friends about us. At the end of the day, this is how we all earn a living, and I'm very proud of what I do. I work with vendors like you who do a great job and who I want to work with over and over, and I'm comfortable with them, because that's another thing I do is when they come to me early in the process, I help refer people who I know are going to be able to achieve what they want. I work with a lot of great people. We call each other frienders. And I am very good also at helping direct them to multiple options. I say, you know, here are some people who I know will do a great job, and they will help you get what you want, and you go pick them. And then I also have people who come in and say, here, Stephanie, here's a picture of what I like. Can you just make that happen? And I do. It really just depends on what people want.
Well, that customization is one of the things that I would really cherish in choosing you, because you had mentioned like you know, bringing other things into the picture, and I would totally be that person. I would be understated elegance, though. That's going to be my new thing, by the way.
Okay, there you go.
But I would totally be the person that would bring something into the mix that would be counter stylistic to the rest of the room. So the fact that you're willing to even work with it and say, well, let's talk about the overview of things. Let's work with even the people who, the rental companies that you work great with. And I never realized how that happened. I've always only saw the finished product. But that's great that you work with them as far as making sure that the elephant in the room doesn't get put in.
Exactly.
It's completely opposite to everything else. So when we talk about the rental companies, though, tell me a little bit more about, it seems like your approach is the next level to the rental company, where the rental company would say, what color do you want your linens to be, and what color do you want this, this, and this. But you work so well with them. And we've seen both sides, the end product of unlimited events and the end product of a rental company. And they're just night and day. How do you work with them to be able to create that end product that's so beautiful, but the great working relationship that you have with them during the event and during the preparation?
Well, the rental companies refer me because I am that next level. I am, it's kind of what I say, the rental companies are the nuts and bolts. You have to have a chair, you have to have a table, you have to have a linen. I am more of the want to. I am the backdrop. I am the ceiling swag. I am the lighting, unless they have a DJ that has great lighting and does it. I am the entry decor. I am the customized focal points. I am the branding of your event, which we can do from start to finish. Anything from, you know, if you want it on your save the date, if you want it through to a favor that you give out at the end of your event. It really, you know, my business is called Unlimited Events for a reason, because we are unlimited. We'll do whatever someone wants. But you know, if the rental company is the nuts and bolts, I'm the icing on the cake, because we do take it to that next level. And here's a very big difference. We are very polished. You know, everything we do, we look at it for details. It's, you know, I don't want to see exposed bars. I don't want to see cable ties. I don't want to see the things that go on behind the scene that make the magic happen. I want it to just appear beautifully. And I call it, and I kind of got this from Disney, I call it the unlimited events difference, because it's like the Disney difference. Disney is up here, and we are up here as far as events go, because this is what we do for a living. It's not a hobby, and our whole goal is to have it be aesthetically pleasing. Now, taking into consideration that we're essentially bringing props. You know, we are bringing a stage set. We are creating the show. And we do that, and we want it to look as new and fresh and vibrant as possible. So, I mean, we travel with paint. We travel with material. We can fix things on site. We can touch them up. We can change at a moment's notice if we have to, if there's a change in the venue, which doesn't normally happen, but it has. And so it's those little details. Plus, you have professionals who do this, bringing it in, setting it up, and tearing it down. That's all we do. We're not, you know, on to the next job to drop off 100 chairs. You know, that's not what they do. They are bringing it in and dropping it off. We are coming in and we're polishing everything and making it shiny and beautiful.
One of the things that I wanted to ask too, you had said that you guys come in and you set it up and you polish it and you tear it down. you had mentioned the end product, a polished look of the end product, and that is really what there was a very stark difference where we saw a backdrop that was from a rental company that you actually don't work with, but it was a rental company that claims to do similar things than what you do. And the next day we were back in that venue again, and it was one of your backdrops, and it was such a night and day difference from when we saw it the day before to when we saw that we didn't even know you did it. We actually just walked in like, oh my God, that's totally 10 times better than it was yesterday. And so when we've always seen you and your crew setting up. So do you have people like on the side that just come set things up and tear things down? Are you guys there? How does that work as far as the setup and tear down?
It's our crew. It is our crew. No, there's not, I mean, I have a crew of people that I've worked with for years. I have a core crew of my full-time staff that's with me all the time. There are people we pick up that we have worked with over the years, family, friends. We've done a lot with the theater community. I have a lot of theater people that are involved. So, you're working with a group of creative people who are talented in the field of event production to start with. So, the fact that we draw from theater is, it's, hand in glove when it comes down to how things go. And it really comes down to the know-how and being able to do these things. Not everybody can do this. You have to have some talent. You have to have some skill, or you have to have some training. And the people who we work with, I can tell sometimes who did the backdrop because everybody has a little different flair to their style and what they're going to do with it. But yeah, I say this, it's kind of a, catchphrase for some people, but we're often imitated but never duplicated. And years ago, I did a wedding and someone came in and undercut my price by a little. The mother took their price for the decor. I was consulting for the wedding, and it looked so bad that she was literally crying her eyes out at her daughter's wedding. And I'm like, stop, it's okay. You know, and I know. It looked terrible, but I wasn't going to have that poor woman crying, through the rest of her daughter's wedding.
Right.
But that's where the difference comes in. And unfortunately, with an event, it's over. There was nothing I could do, to fix it. I did actually work on it to try to make it look a little bit better for her. But, there's only so much you can do. And so it's about talent, skill, quality of the product you're working with. I use very good quality material. I'm never going to let somebody come pick my things up and take it to someplace and set it up. I'm always going to send it out with my crew because I know my crew knows how to put it together appropriately. It's not going to fall and hurt someone. It's not going to be done poorly and have someone say, oh, Unlimited Events did that. Well, no, we didn't, because that's not going to happen. We have to have it set in such a way that we're going to feel good about doing it. We're going to be proud of what we have promoted. And I always tell people, it doesn't matter. I have somebody who might spend $500. I might have someone spend $5,000, $50,000. Everything you get from me is going to be the same quality. It may be more, it may be less, actual items, but at the end of the day, you're always going to get the Unlimited Events difference. We're always going to make it beautiful. We're going to make it look good, or we're not going to do it. There's no such thing in doing things halfway because it's a once-in-a-lifetime event.
Right. It sounds, too, like the Unlimited Events difference is not just material, it's not just expertise, it's really a blending of those two. Because there are, the situation I was speaking of before, not to speak ill of anyone, but it was a general laborer that was setting up the backdrop. It was not someone who knew about decoration or knew about the vision or knew anything other than this pipe goes in this base and then it gets put up. So it sounds like it's really the evolution of both of those together that creates the experience that Unlimited Events offers.
It is, because when we bring new people on, we train them. a new person never goes out to do something that they're not qualified to do. Now, they go through quite a bit of training on how we want things done, how we want them to look. We show them photos. We explain how to do it. We'll have tutorials, because a general laborer should never be going out to decorate for someone's wedding, because then it's going to look like what you saw. You know, that's not why you hire a company to do it. You know, they were probably expecting it to look like my backdrop looked, because that's what they see in pictures, but that isn't what you get if you go with just a basic rental company.
So basic rental companies have individual prices for 2-point swag, 3-point swag. I don't even know if 2-point swag is a thing. That's how inexperienced I am in all this. But
not in my world.
How does the packaging, pricing, etc., with unlimited events, how does that work?
So what we do is we truly try to tailor it to each and every person and event. That said, like, I have put together some beautiful brochures for specific venues of things that I have done there on a regular basis. And I have the look. And when I say the look, it's like I'm never gonna bring out one piece of ceiling swag. I'm never gonna bring out 4 pieces of ceiling swag like that. I'm gonna give you a beautiful look that is worth your money. So I have the menu of what, like, a ceiling swag or a backdrop or a lighting package or something like that would be. And then I actually have it grouped together in package prices, meaning you get a discount if you get more than one focal point. And I have it grouped together, and it's reflected in pictures that I have on that brochure too. So people can look at these photographs and say, oh, okay, that's what I can get for this price. But what if I want X, Y, Z? Then I put that together and I give them a package with that as well. So, you know, there are certain venues that I've got those pre-existing because there are just certain places where they lend themselves to certain looks. But that said, it's not all I can do at those venues as well. When I sit and go through the process of listening to the couple and hearing what they want, I'm going to make suggestions to them based on what they've told me. And then I will put each thing priced, for example, if I'm going to do a huppah, this is the price for the huppah. That's what it costs. But they want perimeter up lighting, and they want ceiling swag, and they want all of those things. So I price each of those focal points, which could stand alone. If someone walked in the room, they would be like, oh my gosh, that's beautiful ceiling swagging. And it works great. And they don't have to do anything else. So if that's all they want to do, they see that price. But if they want to do the uplighting, the ceiling swag, and a backdrop, here's the package price for that as well. It's really, I try to make it about what works best for the client. That's why I give them those options. And I think that often by the time we get to that point, I've heard enough of what they have to say and seen enough of what they want that I'm good at giving them the options that fit in their style, their taste, and their budget.
Awesome. Well, you talked a lot about, you know, venue lookbooks, I think, which I've never heard that before. Again, so much vocabulary is coming at me today. Lookbooks and things like that with different venues. What if, and you guys have been in the industry for so long, a staple, something that a lot of people have looked up to, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
What if you've never been there? What if it's a new venue? What the what ifs of, do you have to be at the venue to do some of this stuff, or have you ever had a venue that you've not been there yet and you needed to?
If someone wants something suspended from the ceiling, I need to go to the venue, because I'm not going to promise that I can do something unless I've actually looked at it, and I would take my staff with me and we would figure it out together. And it also depends on what the venue allows you to do. We do a great job at not hurting people's venues. We have, this is what we do. We have great insurance just in case something does happen. However, we want to make sure that we don't make a promise we can't keep. So for something suspended, I have to, in fact, I have a meeting coming up with a young lady that I'm going to drive an hour out of town to see her venue, because I want to make sure before I promise her something that I can actually make it happen. Now, if she wants something ground-based, I know I can do that. That's not a problem. But when it comes down to actually hanging something, it's, it's important enough that we go see it, and we'll do that.
Awesome. Okay. So let's talk about the client journey. I am someone who wants or is interested in decoration, and I want to choose one of your decorators, you, or Unlimited Events in general. What's the best way to do that? And after I meet with you for like an initial one, what's the entire journey look like? I mean, do I get like unlimited amounts of phone calls to you, or how does that back and forth go when it comes to the stylizing of everything and the decoration, the decisions, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, and that's a really good question, because it is an unknown for a lot of people, and people don't come into planning a wedding knowing exactly how to do everything. If they did, they wouldn't be hiring us. So the way I typically tell people that we walk through it is, we have a phone meeting first and discuss what they have in mind, what they want, the direction they want to go. They send me photos, and then when we have an in-person meeting, I try to have something prepared at that point. Sometimes that in-person meeting takes place at my office. Sometimes it takes place at the venue. Sometimes for people, depending on if they consider themselves to be very visual or not, it's easier for them to envision things when we are actually in the space. So I meet at the venues quite a bit. So we go through, we talk through what they want. I have typically put together a thumbnail quote to start off with, just to give them a ballpark of what they want and what it's leaning toward price-wise. At that point, we narrow it down, and they can say, yes, I like that. Here's what I was thinking. We go back and forth, make sure that everything is what they wanted. And if it's not, then I will redo that quote. Now, that is a process. It's basically 3 steps. If they come back and they want the quote redone, if they want to change their venue, if they want to change multiple times, then I'm going to have to charge them a fee for redoing that quote. But that generally doesn't happen, because we're pretty good at narrowing things down and figuring out what they want. It just depends. I've had a few cases where something happened to the venue and we've had to change it through no fault of the client, and I don't charge them for that, because it could happen to anyone. So we're very fair in what we do and how we treat people. I always say I treat people the way I want to be treated myself. So depending on the circumstances, it can vary, but generally in 3 or 4 meetings or 3 or 4 interchanges, we can get it knocked out and narrowed down.
Awesome. Well, you had talked about changes and stuff like that, and that leads me into my next question, which would be, the changes are sometimes, I think, pushed because of vendors, whether it be a buffet line, or whether it be a floor plan, or whether it be a pushy DJ that wants to dance floor at a certain place. So is there, your coordination with vendors, is there any vendor coordination that kind of guides the things that you do, or back and forth? How do you handle the vendor interaction with the event and the decoration?
Well, typically, one of the first things I do ask for is if they have a layout that they've decided that they want to go with. And I will ask, have you spoken with your caterer? Especially if it's going to be a buffet. That does matter, because those take up space, and where are they going to go? I will say, I've been doing this for a long time. I pretty much know the flow of all the venues around and how it's going to work. And I can give the client a really good suggestion for whatever they want to do on how it's going to work and flow, because I've just done it for so many years. I've consulted for years, and I'm semi-retired from that aspect of the business. But the decorating, I know what flows in the space. I know what we can allow in the space, how much, most venues in town, I can tell you how many you can seat with a buffet, with a dance floor. And I help the client basically assert themselves to get what they want. And now that being said, I typically know what the vendor's going to need. You know, that's years of experience. That's one thing that not everybody is necessarily going to have. And I had to start someplace too. But at this point, I pretty much know all that. So if we're going to sit down and talk about how the room's going to be laid out, I'm going to tell them this is how I think you should lay the room out. Now, that's not everybody can do that. This just comes from me having been around as long as I have and worked the town as much as I have. I've worked the town. But I do know most of the venues, and I know what's going to work there. Now, if I go into a venue that I have not worked at, I actually lean on the representative from the space to tell me how that is going to work. And I often go in and say, hey, I want the guests, the minute the doors open, to have this experience. I want to open the doors and I want them to see this. What would be the best way to lay out your space? And then that person who works there all the time is going to know the best way to make that happen.
It's great that you are coordinating with people. Even, you know, I think sometimes decoration is isolated, and it's great to know that you're coordinating with people rather than just renting them something for them to deal with.
We want it to be an experience, and there's a reason that I have done, you know, 3 sisters events. This summer I'm doing a third sister and a second sisters event. And I'm actually coordinating those because I coordinated their sisters in years past. I mean, and I have young ladies that I've done their mitzvahs, and I will coordinate their weddings too. I mean, I have a lot of what I call my legacy people who have, you know, I've been part of their family. I've been part of the experience. And so whether I'm coordinating or not, I can't not do the job fully. I can't do things halfway. I want the whole experience to be great. And if that whole experience is going to be great, then they're going to tell everybody they know. I actually did a wedding for the son of a woman I went to high school with that I haven't seen since high school. And we had to move decor because it was at the steam plant, and we had to flip the space so that it would flow from a wedding to a reception. And I went to make sure it flowed right because we had never done exactly that before. And it flowed beautifully, and it was great. And I got a lovely thank you note from them not too long ago because, no, I wasn't their wedding planner, but I was their decor planner, and we were doing something unique and beautiful, and the pictures were fabulous. And they are on my website, my Instagram page. But it's the whole experience. And in my opinion, if you're going to do the job right, then you have to be willing to do things like that. If you're not going to do it the right way, you shouldn't be in this business, because this business is about people's once-in-a-lifetime experiences. And if you're not going to take it that seriously, then you shouldn't do it. It's not just a job. And if it's just a job, you need to go do something else, because these people are counting on us and other vendors to help make this once-in-a-lifetime experience absolutely fabulous for them, and that's what we try to do. So I couldn't be like, oh, well, they're going to do that. That's not going to work. I would never just let something like that go by, because my decor is beautiful. But if something else is bad at the event, that's going to be the takeaway, not how beautiful of a job we did creating this fabulous scene. You know, so I always say too, when I'm talking to brides, whether I'm writing their timeline or not, I'm like, you have to make sure you're on time, because the food has to come out when it says it's going to come out on the timeline, because you're spending money on that catering. And I can make it as gorgeous as it can be, but if the food's not good because you are an hour late, that's what somebody's going to remember. And so I'm able to give them, you know, little nuggets like that to know this is how important each component is. Get your ducks in a row ahead of time, and then your event's going to flow beautifully, and it's going to look great, and it's going to be a cohesive, synergistic experience that everybody walks away from saying, that was one of the best events I've ever been to.
It's funny, we've never had that conversation, but that is one of the things that we hit on so often, is that cohesion between the all vendors and the timeline and everything. We say the exact same thing that you said. Like, if one thing is off, then everything else is going to be tainted.
Right,
so
right.
It's funny that we share that, and we never had that conversation.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, it's kind of doesn't come up because you do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if I don't have to say, hey, you know, this has to work and this has to work. And really, I'm really fortunate that I do know nice people, and I've met great vendors, and we do work well together to make sure our clients get the experience at the end of the day. And I have said many times over the years, if it ever becomes just a job, I'll quit doing it. But I don't think it could, because I take too much, I internalize it too much, and I take it too personally. And I say to couples, you know, once you've hired us, it's my wedding too. Because I have a stake in making this great. And the reality is they're going to go off and they're going to live their life, and that's going to be their day. But it's true, because it's either going to look fabulous and live in those pictures forever, or it's going to live in infamy. And so it has to work out well for us to put our name on it. So, and everybody who works with me feels that way too. You know, if you work with Unlimited Events, that if it is humanly possible to make something beautiful and to make your event go well, we're going to do it. You know, that's just it. And I work with vendors who share that work ethic. So it's just how it has to be.
So I'm not even sure if this question even applies, because I feel like your service is so unique.
It is. It really
that
kind
I
of
don't
is.
even know if this applies, but I'm going to give you the opportunity anyways, because we've given everyone the opportunity. Let me know, and if I were a client and I was choosing between Unlimited Events and another decoration option that would be similar to yours. I don't want to really compare it to a rental company, because I don't really think there is a comparison. And I don't really think there's even anyone out there that does what you do. Everything was exciting. But if I were, why would I choose Unlimited Events?
Well, and I will tell you, and I'm going to just use an analogy that goes with everything. You wouldn't hire a plumber to come in and clean your carpet, okay? You wouldn't hire a dentist to take out your gallbladder. So why would you hire a person who either does it as a hobby or adds it on just because they want to make a few $100 more to whatever service they do provide, when this is what's going to be in your wedding pictures forever? You know, you want to hire an expert in every field. You know, I'm not a landscaper. I'm not going to try to build a paver driveway for myself or something like that. I'm going to hire someone that's what they do for a living. This is what we do for a living, and we do it better than anybody else. And so there's a reason you hire us. We show up when we are supposed to. We bring it in, we set it up, we tear it down. We make sure that the details and the attention to detail is there. You know, it looks good, it looks finished. It's not dirty, it's not broken. It's there and it's where it's supposed to be. We know because we put it there, and I'm the one who did the layout to tell everybody where to put it. And so we come in and we take care of those details, and then when you go home after your party's over, we come in and we tear it down. And you don't have to worry about anything that is in our contract that we are responsible for you. And if I take care of all of the details for you, then you don't worry about any of it. So it just depends, because, you know, not everybody wants that service. Some people want a little, some people want a lot. Whatever we do, we make it great. And we make sure that even if we're not doing it, we help make sure you know that things need to be done, so that you're not like, oh, what do you mean? I will give you an example. Actually, my son's orthodontist was getting married, and there were so many details she didn't realize, and she was at a venue that you had to take your trash out of there at the end of the night. She had no idea. And when I started talking to her and she was telling me about it, I was like, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? Ultimately, we ended up doing all of that for her, and we stepped in sort of last minute to make those things happen. But not everybody knows what needs to happen. So when they come with us and they talk to us, I tell them all of this. And if I don't know, I'm like, you need to find these things out. I typically know most of most of our venues, but I don't know them all. And if I don't, I will help them find out. So it's really about service, quality, professionalism, and another thing I think people should know is when they hire vendors to do events for them, make sure that vendor is insured. Because if something happened because of that vendor, if they are not insured, that can come back on you. So I always say too, make sure you're working with someone who does this for a living and is professionally covered, or it comes back to bite you.
I agree to everything. And
I'm
sold, but we're gonna ask you to tell the audience out there what's the best way to get a hold of you, to get a consultation with Unlimited Events. What's the best way? How do we get in contact with you?
Okay, the best way to get in touch with Unlimited Events, you can go to my website and you can go to the contact us page and reach out that way. You can also call my cell phone, which is 937-657-7039. And you can also just Google us and it pops up. We also have Facebook and Instagram, so you really can reach out to us any way possible and get to one of us at some point.
Stephanie, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything. And that's it for this episode and this vendor spotlight. My name is Sean from Legacy Event Group. We will see you next time.